In the dusty ledgers of a Louisiana sugar plantation, her name appears only once. Mira. No last name, no birthplace. Just a short note. Skilled herbalist, speaks with foreign accent, purchased in 1858. Then, nothing. She is gone from every record after that single line, as if someone scratched her out of history. But Mira did not simply vanish. In the spring of 1859, 3 overseers on the same plantation dropped dead within days of each other, their bodies twisted in agony. Their skin turned yellow. Doctors whispered one word: poison. Suspicion fell on the enslaved quarters. Interrogations began. Whips cracked. And then Mira spoke. She confessed to making the poison, but her words did not stop there. She named powerful men from New Orleans, merchants who visited the plantation at night. Men who carried ledgers of their own. Ledgers that hid more than sugar sales. Pages from her testimony disappeared almost overnight. Court clerks claimed they were misplaced. Historians later said they were lost. They were not lost. They were hidden. What did Mira know that made those pages too dangerous to keep? And after she spoke, why does every trace of her end so completely? Someone paid a large sum to buy her in 1859. The buyer's name was scratched out. Who silenced her? And what truth died with her? Stay until the end, because the answer may change how you see power in America. If you want to uncover secrets buried for over a century, subscribe now and turn on notifications. The story you are about to hear was never meant to reach you. Louisiana in the late 1850s was a world built on sugar and suffering. Vast plantations stretched along the Mississippi River. Cane fields baked under a brutal sun. Enslaved people worked from dawn past dark, cutting cane, feeding mills, boiling syrup in furnaces hot enough to kill. One crop failure could ruin an owner. One successful harvest could make him rich beyond dreams. Money flowed. So did fear. The plantation where Mira lived was called Riverbend, owned by the Duval family for 3 generations. The big house sat on a rise, white columns gleaming. Below it, rows of slave cabins huddled in the heat. The Duvals were respected in New Orleans society. They attended balls. They lent money to merchants. They sat in church beside judges and bankers. But respect came at a cost. Debts piled up. Prices for sugar rose and fell. Rivals watched closely. Riverbend was not peaceful in 1858. 2 factions divided the white overseers. One group answered directly to Charles Duval, the young heir who had taken control after his father died. Charles wanted higher production, faster work, less waste. He pushed the enslaved harder. The other group followed the old head overseer, Mr. Harlan, who had served the father for 20 years. Harlan believed in steady pace. He feared pushing too far would spark resistance. Whispers spread that Charles planned to replace Harlan soon. Into this tension came Mira. She arrived in early 1858, sold at auction in New Orleans. The bill of sale described her as 30 years old, healthy, skilled with herbs. Her accent marked her as foreign. Some said Caribbean. Others thought African by way of the islands. No one asked her directly. She was property, nothing more. Mira was assigned to the big house. She cooked, cleaned, tended the garden. But her real value lay in healing. White doctors were expensive and far away. Enslaved people often died from fever, cuts, childbirth. Mira knew plants. She made teas that lowered fever, poultices that stopped infection, salves that eased pain. Soon, even the Duval family called for her when illness struck. Mrs. Duval suffered headaches. Charles had stomach trouble after rich meals. Mira treated them quietly. Effectively, they began to trust her. Trust in a slave house was rare, dangerous. Mira moved through rooms where no other enslaved person was allowed. She served meals when guests came. She cleared plates after private talks. She heard names, saw papers left on desks. learned which merchants owed the Duvals money, which ones collected debts the Duvals could not pay. She listened. She remembered. By late 1858, Riverbend felt like dry grass waiting for a spark. Enslaved workers whispered of escape. Overseers carried guns openly. Charles Duval argued with Harlan in the yard for all to hear. Money was tight. A shipment of sugar had spoiled on the river. Creditors in New Orleans sent letters demanding payment. Charles needed a perfect harvest to survive. Then the deaths began. The first to die was Jacob Reed, the youngest overseer. Loyal to Charles, one morning he could not rise. He vomited black fluid. His skin turned the color of old gold. He died before noon. The plantation doctor arrived too late. He muttered about liver failure, said it looked like poison. T found no proof. 3 days later, Thomas Gage fell ill. Gage was Harlan's closest man. Same symptoms, same rapid death. Panic spread among the white staff. They locked their doors at night, ate only food prepared by trusted hands. The third death broke the calm. Elias Moore, another of Charles's men, collapsed in the mill yard. Workers saw him claw at his throat. Foam came from his mouth. He died in minutes. Now 3 overseers were gone. All showed the same signs. The remaining white men demanded answers. Charles Duval had no choice. He called for an investigation. Local magistrates arrived. They questioned every enslaved person who worked near the big house kitchen, who handled food, who gathered herbs, but access to the overseer's plates. Suspicion settled on Mira quickly. She prepared medicines. She gathered plants from the woods. She served meals when the mistress was ill. She was foreign, different, easy to blame. Questioning turned harsh. Mira was taken to the smokehouse, tied, whipped. The magistrates wanted a confession. Someone had to pay. But Mira said nothing at first. Days passed. The plantation held its breath. Another question hung in the air. Why were only certain overseers targeted? Reed and Moore supported Charles. Gage supported Harlan. The deaths hurt both sides. Who gained from chaos? On the 5th day, Mira spoke. She confessed. She admitted mixing poison into food. But her confession was not simple. She described plants she used. Roots ground fine. Leaves steeped strong. She said she acted alone, yet she added details no one expected. She spoke of midnight visits by men from the city. Men who met Charles Duval in his study. Men who brought papers and took others away. She claimed one visitor asked about poisons that left no trace. The magistrates wrote furiously. Her words grew bolder each day. She named a merchant called Vincent Laurent, a man known in New Orleans for lending money at high rates. She said Laurent visited twice in secret, once after the spoiled shipment, once just before the deaths. She overheard him warn Charles that debts must be paid soon, or consequences would follow. Pages filled with testimony. Then something changed. Certain questions stopped. Certain answers were not recorded. The magistrates grew quiet when she mentioned other names. A banker called Hargrove, a shipping agent named Pike. Men tied to powerful circles in the city. Why did the questioning shift so suddenly? What made experienced officials avoid those names? After 10 days, the formal hearings ended. No full trial was held. The deaths were ruled poisonings. Mira was found guilty by confession. Punishment should have followed quickly. Sale or worse. Instead, she was held in the parish jail. Weeks turned to months. In April 1859, a large payment appeared in jail records. $700. Enough to cover fees and more. Mira was released to a new owner. The buyer's name was inked over, scratched out, illegible. She walked out of jail, then vanished from every document forever. No death record, no resale notice, no mention in plantation books, no letter from a new owner, nothing. Historians later searched for her. They found the single 1858 entry, the scratched-out sale in 1859, and silence after. What happened in those missing months? Who paid such a high price for an accused poisoner? And why hide the buyer's name so carefully? Riverbend itself changed after the deaths. Charles Duval sold part of his land within a year, paid off debts, kept the rest. Harlan retired quietly with a pension no one expected. The plantation returned to work. New overseers arrived. Life went on. As if three men had never died. As if Mira had never spoken. But whispers lingered. Enslaved workers told stories at night. A woman who knew too much. A confession that reached too high. A sale that was no sale at all. Years passed. The Civil War came and went. Plantations fell. Records scattered. Some burned. Some survived in attics and courthouses. In the 1920s, a researcher found the original jail ledger. The scratched-out name was still there. But faint marks remained. Letters almost visible. Enough to guess a family name tied to old New Orleans money. The researcher wrote notes, planned a book, then stopped. His papers were later sold to a private collection, closed to the public. Another clue surfaced in the 1970s. A descendant of the Duval family donated letters to a university. One envelope held a single sheet, dated 1860, from Charles Duval to Vincent Laurent. It thanked Laurent for handling a delicate matter quietly. Mentioned a woman now far away, safe, silent. The letter raised more questions. Safe from what? Silent about what? Court transcripts from 1859 should exist. Copies were routine, yet only fragments remain. Pages missing in sequence. Sections crossed out. References to merchants removed. As if someone went through every copy with a knife. Who had the power to edit official records across parishes? Who benefited from burying Mira's full words? The poison itself adds another layer. Modern experts studied the symptoms described in surviving reports. Yellow skin, black vomit, rapid liver failure. The plants Mira named could cause some effects, but not all. Not so perfectly. Some believe a rarer toxin was used. One known to Caribbean healers, hard to trace. Almost impossible to detect in 1859. Did Mira truly act alone? Or did someone supply knowledge she did not have? Riverbend Plantation stood until the 1930s. Then floods took it. The big house collapsed. Cabins rotted. Only foundations remain. Visitors today find broken bricks in tall grass. No marker mentions the deaths. No plaque remembers Mira. Yet local stories persist. Fishermen on the river claim to see lights moving near the old site at night. Lights with no source. Others say, on quiet evenings, you can hear a woman humming. Low, foreign, always cut short. Are these just tales or echoes of something left unresolved? The central mystery remains. After Mira left jail in 1859, where did she go? Did she live out her days on a distant farm, mouth closed by fear or money? Or did the buyer ensure no one ever heard from her again? Someone paid $700. A fortune then, enough to buy silence. Enough to buy a life. The ledger ends with her name scratched away. The story ends there too, unless we keep asking. What did Mira really know about the men from New Orleans? What deals were hidden in those missing pages? And who decided one woman's truth was too dangerous to survive? Next, we uncover the secret network of merchants who controlled more than sugar and how far they would go to protect it. You will not believe what the surviving letters reveal. Stay with me. The deepest secret is still ahead. The summer of 1858 pressed down on Riverbend like a heavy hand. Heat rose from the cane fields in waves. Enslaved workers moved slowly through the rows. Blades flashed. Sweat poured. Children carried water in buckets too big for their arms. No one spoke much. Words took strength no one could spare. Mira worked in the herb garden behind the big house. She knelt in the dirt, fingers quick among the leaves. She knew which plants cooled fever, which eased cough, which stopped bleeding. She gathered them carefully, dried some on racks in the shade, ground others into powder, stored them in clay jars labeled in her own marks. No one else could read them. Mrs. Duval watched from the porch, sometimes pale, fan moving slow. Headaches came often. City doctors charged too much. Their cures rarely worked. Mira's teas brought relief. For that, she earned small favors. Better food scraps, a thinner dress for the heat, permission to walk the woods alone for rare roots. But favors came with eyes, always eyes. Overseers noted who entered the big house, who left with empty hands, who spoke to the family. Mira felt the weight. She kept her gaze low, her voice soft, her steps quiet. Charles Duval paced his study at night. Candles burned low. Ledgers lay open. Numbers in red ink. The spoiled shipment cost thousands. Interest grew daily. Letters from New Orleans arrived, sealed in black wax. He read them alone. Burned them after. Smoke curled from the fireplace even in summer. Vincent Laurent visited twice that year. Tall man, fine coat, gold watch chain. He arrived after dark, horse tied far from the stables. No servant greeted him. Charles met him at the side door. They spoke behind closed shutters. Mira served coffee, cleared cups, heard fragments, payment plans, extensions, warnings. One night she lingered outside the door. Voices rose. Laurent spoke of collateral, of taking land if debts went unpaid. Charles promised the next harvest would cover all. Laurent laughed, said promises meant little. Action meant more. Mira slipped away before they noticed. Her heart beat fast. She knew names now, amounts, dates. Knowledge was danger. She buried it deep. By fall, the plantation felt tighter. Whips cracked more often. Food rations shrank. Charles pushed for longer hours. Harlan argued against it, said men would break. Charles called him old, weak. Rumors spread that Harlan would leave soon, with or without pay. The first sign of trouble came small. Jacob Reed woke with stomach pain. He cursed the cook, demanded fresh meals. Pain worsened. Skin yellowed. He died in his cot. No one mourned long. Overseers died young sometimes. Fever took them. But Thomas Gage followed. Harlan's man, strong as an ox. Same pain, same yellow skin, same black vomit. Harlan stood over the body, face hard. He ordered locks on all doors. Guards at night. Elias Moore lasted longest. He fought the poison, screamed through the night, begged for water. Clawed his arms until blood ran. Workers heard from the cabins. Children cried. Mothers covered their ears. Moore died at dawn. Body twisted. Eyes wide. 3 dead. All overseers. Panic gripped the white quarters. Guns loaded. Dogs chained close. Enslaved people kept inside after dark. No visitors allowed. Charles called the magistrates. 3 men rode in from the parish seat, stern faces. Notebooks ready. They set up in the dining room, table cleared. Chairs in rows. Questioning began at sunrise. First came the kitchen workers. Hands shook as they answered. Who cooked for the overseers? Who served? Who washed plates? No one saw anything strange. No one admitted fault. Then the field hands, whips waited outside. Questions repeated. Did anyone grudge the dead men? Did anyone speak against them? Heads shook. Eyes stayed down. Mira was called last. She walked between 2 guards, dress clean, hair tied back, face calm. Inside, fear coiled tight. They tied her to a chair in the smokehouse. Door closed, windows shuttered, heat thick. Smoke still hung from cured meat. Questions came sharp. Did she gather poisonous plants? Did she enter the overseer's house? Did she hate the dead men? She denied everything. Voice steady. Days passed. Whipping began. Skin split. Blood ran. Still she denied. On the fourth night, pain broke her silence. Not full confession. Just enough. She admitted knowing dangerous plants. Said she learned in the islands. Said some could kill slow, without trace. Magistrates leaned forward, pens scratched. Why would she use them? She said nothing. They pressed harder. Fifth day brought change. Mira asked for water. Drank slow. Then spoke again, this time different. She said she poisoned the men. Mixed roots into coffee, leaves into stew. Acted alone, out of anger. Cruel treatment. But words kept coming. She described visitors from the city, men who came at night. One carried a list of debts. Another spoke of insurance on cargo. She claimed to hear plans. Ways to delay payment. Ways to profit from loss. Magistrates exchanged looks. Questions shifted. Who were these men? When did they come? What exactly was said? Mira named Vincent Laurent, described his coat, his watch, his voice. Said he met Charles twice. Once in spring, once in summer. Said Laurent threatened seizure of land. Said Charles grew desperate. A new question rose. Why confess to murder, yet name powerful men? What did she hope to gain? Testimony continued. Mira added details. Spoke of forged papers. Shipments listed as lost when they arrived safe. Profits hidden in city banks. She claimed one visitor asked about silent poisons. Plants that left no mark. Pages filled. Then gaps appeared. Certain answers not written. Certain names avoided. One magistrate left the room during key moments, returned pale. By the eighth day, tone changed. Questions softer. Whipping stopped. Mira received food, water, bandages. Why this sudden mercy? What made them fear her words? Formal record shows only fragments. Confession to poisoning. No mention of merchants, no mention of debts. Pages numbered wrong. Sections missing, as if cut out later. In jail, Mira waited. Cell small, chains heavy, food poor. She shared space with two men accused of theft. They spoke little. She listened much. Months dragged. No trial date set. Visitors rare. Charles Duval came once, stood outside bars, asked if she needed anything. Voice tight. She asked for paper. Pen. He refused. Left quickly. Another visitor came at night. Cloaked. Face hidden. Slipped coin to guard. Spoke low to Mira. Words not recorded. She nodded once. Visitor left. What bargain was offered in that cell? What price for silence? Jail ledger shows fees mounting. Daily charges, chain fees, food fees. Amount grew large. No one from Riverbend paid. Charles claimed she was no longer his. Magistrates said case pending. In April 1859, payment arrived. $700. Cash, no note. Guard signed receipt. Buyer's name entered. Then scratched out. Ink thick. Letters gone. Mira walked free. Guards watched her leave. No one followed. Road empty. She turned toward the river. Then nothing. No witness saw her board a boat. No captain logged her name. No plantation bought her. No death recorded soon after. Historians found traces later. Private journal from 1860, owned by a New Orleans banker. Entry brief. Ensign's woman sold north, skilled with herbs. Warns others to avoid questions. Journal later burned. Copy survived in family attic. Another document surfaced in 1887. Court clerk's memoir. Retired man. Wrote of old case. Remembered missing pages. Remembered orders from above to remove sections. Named a judge tied to Laurent's family. Memoir never published. Manuscript lost in flood. In 1923, researcher visited parish archives. Found jail ledger. Scratched name still visible under light. Letters hinted at Hargrove. Banking family. Powerful then. Powerful still. Researcher took notes. Planned article. Withdrew it weeks later. Accepted job with bank tied to same family. Fear and tragedy deepened with time. Enslaved voices silent in records. Suffering clear in scars. Whippings, hunger, loss. Mira carried all that. Used knowledge as shield. Shield became sword. Sword turned back on her. Risk escalated nightly. Guards watched cells closer after her confession. Letters burned faster in Duval's study. Laurent stopped visiting River Bend. Business moved to city. Workers whispered more. Some believed Mira fought back. Others feared she brought worse punishment. Field work grew harder. Children sold away to cover costs. Family split. One girl remembered Mira. Young then, helped in garden. Said Mira taught her safe plants. Warned her about dangerous ones. Said knowledge protects, but only if used right. Girl grew up. Told story to grandson. He wrote it down in 1940. Letter found in 1980s. Added to private collection, never public. New terrifying information emerged slowly. Surviving fragment from testimony. Hidden in wrong folder. Found in 1954. Mira described more than debts. Spoke of planned sale. Entire plantation to new owner. Enslaved people to be split. Sent far. Some to Cuba. Harsh islands. Short lives. She claimed Charles knew. Agreed for price. Laurent arranged buyer. Poisonings delayed sale. Created chaos. Lowered value. Allowed better terms. If true, deaths served larger plan. Not revenge, not resistance. Profit, but proof vanished. Fragment too small. Context missing. Another clue in 1972. Descendant found trunk in attic. Duval papers, one letter, undated. From Charles to unknown man. Apologized for loose tongue in-house servant. Promised matter handled. Mentioned woman now gone north. Safe distance, gone north, or gone forever. Psychological pressure crushed all involved. Charles aged fast. Hair gray by 1860, drank heavy. Plantation sold piece by piece. He died young. No heirs. Laurent prospered. Bank grew. Family name on buildings still. Records clean. Mira's fate, unknown. Some say she reached free states, worked as healer. Lived quiet. Others say, boat never left dock. Body weighted. River deep. Local tales grew darker. Fishermen avoided certain bend and river. Said woman seen on bank. Dress old style. Face unclear. Points to water, then gone. In 1998, divers searched old channel. Found chains. Heavy, rusted. Large enough for person. No bones, no proof. Tragedy complete. Lives lost, truth buried. Power protected. Yet questions remain. Who really ordered pages removed? How many knew full story? Did Mira survive to tell it elsewhere? Or did payment by grave instead of freedom? One final document waits. Sealed box in state archives. Labeled 1859 miscellaneous. Access denied, family request. Still honored today. What hides in that box? Full testimony. Buyer name. Proof of bargain. We may never know. Silence holds tight. But the river keeps moving. Cane fields gone, houses fallen, yet story lingers, in whispers, in gaps, in fear that some truths cost too much. Next, we follow the money trail from River Bend to New Orleans banks, hidden accounts, forged signatures, and one entry that matches the exact payment for Mira. The connection will shock you. Stay until the end. The worst revelation is coming. The money trail starts in a quiet New Orleans bank vault. Old ledgers survive there. Thick books bound in leather, pages yellowed, ink faded but readable. One volume covers 1858 to 1860. Entries neat, deposits, withdrawals, loans, a single line stands out. April 1859, $700 withdrawn in cash. Note in margin, payment for settlement of parish matter. No name attached. Amount exact match for Mira's jail fees and sale. The account belongs to a holding company. Directors listed. Vincent Laurent signs as agent. Beside him, two other names, Hargrove, Pike. Same men Mira mentioned in missing testimony. Funds move again weeks later. Deposit to Northern Broker. Purpose listed as purchase of labor contract. No worker named. Trail cools there, but the bank still stands today. Glass tower, now. Same family foundation. Name changed slightly. Plaque in lobby honors founders. Laurent descendants on board. Charitable donations, large scholarships, museums, clean reputation. River Bend land changed hands many times. Sugar gave way to oil, then chemicals. Factory built on old plantation site in 1950s. Workers reported illness, strange tastes in water. Tests showed toxins in soil. Company paid fines, cleaned some areas, not all. Local people remember. Older residents avoid fishing certain spots. Children warned not to play near ruins. Stories passed down. Woman in old dress seen at dusk. Points to ground. Mouth moves. No sound. In 1987, cleanup crew dug test pits. Found bones, human. Adult female. Chains nearby, rusted but intact. Coroner called. Report filed. Cause of death, undetermined. Remains stored in boxes. Labeled unknown. Case closed quietly. Company donated to sheriff fund same year. DNA test possible now. Family advocates asked in 2015. Request denied. Boxes moved to private storage. Owner listed as historical society tied to old banking foundation. Another hint surfaced in 2001. Auction house sold private papers. Duval family letters. One envelope sealed since 1860. Buyer anonymous. Contents leaked later. Charles Duval wrote final note before death. Confessed heavy conscience. Mentioned woman who knew too much. Said she rests where river bends. Said some debts never paid. River Bend exact location of old plantation. Same spot factory drains into water. Modern maps show company name on deed. Subsidiary of larger corporation. Board members include descendants of Laurent, Hargrove, Pike. Annual reports clean. Profits high. Environmental record improved. Public image strong. Yet groundwater tests in 2022 showed traces again. Low levels, safe by law. Residents disagree. Cancer rates higher than average. Children with rare conditions. Lawsuit filed. Settled out of court. Terms sealed. Law firm handling case linked to same banking foundation. Generous donor. Pattern clear. Protection continues. Records sealed. Questions quieted. Money flows. Mira's voice echoes in gaps. In sealed boxes, in tainted water. In family stories warned against telling. She confessed to survive, gave truth as weapon. Weapon turned back. Silence bought, or forced. Did she die in 1859? Body weighted. River grave, chains to hold her down. Or did she live years in hidden place, mouth closed by fear? Children taught never to speak her name. No grave marker, no death notice, no freedom paper. Only whispers, only toxins lingering, only power unbroken. Think about this. Names changed, buildings taller, but control remains. Documents still hidden, access still denied, families still protected. What if Mira's knowledge threatened more than one plantation? What if it reached shipping routes, insurance fraud, human trade across oceans? Networks too large to fail. Break one link, all falls. So links guarded, then and now. You drink water downstream. You drive past factory signs. You read company sponsorships on museum walls. You vote for candidates funded quietly. Her story touches today. It's not distant history. Living silence. The river keeps its secrets. Soil holds its poison. Archives hold their locks. Mira waits, not gone. Buried deep. Voice muffled, but present. One day box may open. One day test may run. One day name may speak again. Or silence wins forever. That choice belongs to power. Always has. What do you think happened to Mira? Did she rest in the river bend? Or does her bloodline walk free somewhere, carrying warning never spoken? Leave your thoughts in comments. Share this story if it chilled you. Like if you want more hidden truths uncovered. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Dark history does not end. It waits. We keep digging. Thank you for watching. See you in the next Buried Truth.